Give me some fire support. Jesus, Herbie, why'd you tell me people were watching? Hey. I don't play with toys. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another violent but true bedtime stories with me, the First Sergeant. Bruce Crandall, born in Olympia, Washington, was an All-American baseball player and would have gone to play on in the major leagues if he had not been drafted to the U.S. Army during the Korean War in the year 1953. Having been a college student, he was offered a commission and graduated as an engineer from OCS at Fort Belvoir, Virginia. His engineer specialty would not be utilized, as he was sent to fixed-wing and helicopter training soon after his commission. He would begin his flying career behind the stick of a Cessna L-19 and went on to fly several other aircraft before becoming an instructor and test pilot of the OH-23 Raven. He was well respected in his command and flight community, which made it easy for him to become selected to conduct mapping missions over the jungles of Central and South America. His skills and leadership continued to develop, as well as his air assault tactics that would be later employed in the lovely land of Vietnam. Having assumed his first command of the 1st Cavalry Division's Company A, 229th Assault Helicopter Battalion, Army, I swear. Can't it be just simple, like 1st Marine Division? I don't know. Call me crazy. He would lead the first elements of the air cavalry into combat operations in Vietnam. The operation would lead to the first major engagement of the American forces and dubbed the Battle of La Drang. He would support the forces of Lieutenant General Hal Moore and the 7th Cavalry against a vastly superior enemy force of the MVA soldiers. This battle has been well documented in the book written by the Lieutenant General, We Were Soldiers Once and Young. During 16 hours of the battle, Crandall would conduct several combat missions into the valley, as well as over 18 additional flights into the area to evacuate the wounded soldiers that were locked in mortal combat. He was quoted as saying, "This isn't hell, but you can see it from here," during the many flights he made into the fight. While the battle raged on and the landing zone was closed, Crandall refused to obey orders to ground his helicopter. When medevac units refused to land to rescue the wounded, it was Crandall who sacked up and flew his unarmored bird into the heavy gunfire and conditions that meant certain death. He was quoted in saying, "F it, I'm going back. Who's coming with me?" In fact, during his multiple trips to Landing Zone X-Ray, Crandall would swap out helicopters several times as he would return to the flight line just barely able to keep his bird in the sky. His helicopters looked like bricks of Swiss cheese. Armed only with his sidearm and his cigar. The MVA could not keep this man from saving as many lives as he could. Crandall was directly responsible for evacuating 75 soldiers, to include his wingman, Major Ed Freeman, who was wounded from a shot to the throat. In addition, his efforts would bring much-needed supplies, ammunition, and water to the unit, which arguably provided the 7th Cavalry the means to break and destroy the MVA regiment. Now that was the story that we all know. But Crandall served an additional tour in Vietnam that is less talked about and just as heroic. While supporting Operation Masher, he had learned that after returning from a full day of combat operations, that one of his friends from the Battle of La Drang was in heavy contact, pinned down, and needed extraction. The unit was led by Captain Tony Nadel. Once again, Crandall did what he knew was the right thing. Ordering men to refuel his bird, he took to the skies to rescue the unit. Similar to previous medevac units, they had refused to land in the identified LZ. Crandall noticed that the descent was crowded with trees and that his landing would be hairy. Doing this 2 times and under intense enemy fire, he successfully extracted 12 wounded soldiers and provided Nadal and his men the opportunity to break contact with the enemy force. But wait, there's more. In January of 1968, he was back in country. It was the 4th season of the Crandall Show. Old Snake was back at defying the odds and saving men across the country. However, while extracting men from the 1st Cavalry, he would be shot down due to 4 Air Force bombs exploding near his location. He would end up with a broken back and other injuries that would land him 5 months of therapy. Crandall didn't take shit from no man and would die for them regardless of the danger. Bruce Crandall would be awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions in the Battle of La Drang, as well as being inducted into the United States Air Force's Gathering of Eagles, the Army Aviators Aviation Hall of Fame, the Distinguished Flying Cross with 3 oak clusters, a Bronze Star, a Purple Heart, Meritorious Service Medal with 2 oak clusters, an Air Medal with 23 hours of combat assaults, an Army Commendation Medal, and the Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry. I've had my fair share of air and country, and knowing men like this were ready and able made us feel invincible. Semper Fi, Lieutenant Colonel Bruce Crandall. This will defend.